All right, we're back. We've done 2 of these things, and we're going to try to do more because I think both Matt and I are having fun. But who are we? We are the Angry Birds Pod Show. I don't know why we didn't call it a podcast, but we're starting a new thing, and it's called a Pod Show. Dang it. I'm Kyle. You can find me at kyle.boehm.photography on Instagram. This is my partner, Matt. You can find him at _Matt Parrish on Instagram. And how you doing today, Matt?
I'm outstanding. How are you? I'm technically still on vacation.
You look like you're sitting to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm outstanding. No, what a start. What a start with a pun.
You got to start with something.
Sure. I actually know what we have to start with, Wiz.
Oh, true. Nailed it. Today we got both of us going. I don't know if any of y'all listened to the first episode, but guess what Matt's got going? He's got a Twisted Tea going right now.
Oh,
I'm kind of jealous.
Like I said, I'm still on vacation. I'm in vacation mode. This is my last day of it, but...
Well, we could argue that your last day could have been like 2-3 days ago when you were leaving.
Yeah, what he means by that is we were in South Florida. We got out on our way back to Toronto about 3 hours before the tropical kind of depressions started to hit. So... from the hurricane.
I usually get tropical depression when I leave from a vacation.
When you leave. Yeah, me too. Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty wild. The first 15, 20 minutes of the flight was a little bumpy, but we made it. We made it on time. I'm back here to share the story with all of you.
You have a story?
No, it got pretty interesting on the ship the last night, I will say. My wife kind of slept through most of it, but as we were heading back to Miami, we hit some pretty good waves with the wind and the rain, and I woke up a few times with the front of the boat, front of the ship. We were in the top 12th deck, right on the front of the boat, so you'd have a lot more movement up there. And when you kind of came off the top of the waves and came crashing down into the other one, it would kind of just rattle everything like thunder. So, I mean, I don't recommend, but I made it through.
Yeah, most people I don't think would recommend going on a cruise during a hurricane. But
funny thing is, this is our third, and we've gone every time between September and October.
Oh, you're seasoned veterans then.
We are frugal, and it's cheaper then.
There's a comedian once talking about how she lived in Tornado Alley. And someone was like, "Why do you live in Tornado Alley? Like, you know they're gonna happen." He's like, "Land comes cheap when there's a good chance you're gonna fucking die on it."
That's right. There's a price, there's a price that people are willing to pay, and if it means living in danger, so be it.
It would add an element for sure to the vacation.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely added a little more suspense to it. Usually it's like chill and relaxing, and it was for most of the days. But I would say Wednesday afternoon into Thursday morning was something new for us. But
yeah,
like I said, we're good.
I'm glad you made it back. I was very concerned about what I would have to do with this podcast.
Yeah. If I didn't make it back or I was stuck, I was really hoping maybe I could get some of that like hurricane fallout with all the migration.
Oh,
yeah. With all the birds just drop and then they're just hanging out waiting,
just on the ground. Just like rarities just standing on the sidewalk in front of you.
Yeah, there were some house sparrow actually taking shelter in the Miami International Airport. I don't know if they normally do, but there were lots of them just jumping around chairs around me. So
I
didn't want to take out the big camera and look like a weirdo.
Just get a sweet out of focus background on like benches at an airport. That'd be sick.
Yeah, some guy sleeping in the background, bokeh. You know what I mean?
Actually, that's a totally different type of bird photography. Indoor bird photography.
Yeah.
That's a niche.
Yeah.
So, what were you? I don't think the point of the cruise wasn't birding, but you did manage to get some shots of some stuff. I noticed.
I did. Yeah. I mean, the one day we went to one of Royal Caribbean's private islands called Coco Cay, and I had about 45 minutes. I guess it was 9 a.m. My wife was just lounging, reading a book, so I went for a walk. And there was quite a few things. So some ready turnstones and some laughing gulls and a bunch of little jellyfish that kind of were up on the shore floating around. Barracuda, needlefish. Someone said they saw a lemon shark. I don't know. There was also iguanas. I got to see my Bahamian wood star, which is a type of hummingbird that I wanted to see while I was down there. I only saw the one, and I saw it for a brief minute, but there were things around. So within the 45 minutes that I was on the island shooting, I did see quite a bit. So, if you had a couple days there, I can only imagine what you'd come up with. Because like I said, I took maybe 45 minutes. It wasn't even an hour. And it was hot. Like, you're getting heat waves. You're shooting mostly in the sun, harsh shadows. So you're trying to do something. But it was still nice to be able to take the whole kit, even the 800, because of the size of it. It's not really that much of a burden. So it was nice to have with me, even for the limited time I had.
Yeah. I know that I had taken a trip to California a few months ago. I was debating taking the 800 with me, but ultimately I thought an extra pair of shoes was a better use of the space in my backpack.
That's silly.
Than the 800.
That's silly. You can buy shoes. It wasn't. You can buy shoes. You can't buy an 800 while you're there.
I probably could have, but it'd be ridiculous to buy a lens where you're going and then just leave it there or sell it.
Yeah.
This recent little bit of history, I have thought about traveling with my camera more than I had in years past because I hadn't had a chance to go on many on planes or longer distance trips. But I can say that the gear that we both have it packs up pretty nice.
It's insanely portable when it comes to focal length and being a full frame body. It's very portable. I just threw mine in my Manfrotto backpack, and it took up half the space in my backpack, and I was able to pack other things, cord management kind of thing, and an extra battery power bank, couple waters in there. So there was plenty of space for two lenses in one body.
Yeah, and I normally have both of mine on me in my backpack I bring around. My backpack is just like a fairly inexpensive one from Amazon. That is something that I'm always toying with, is getting a backpack, a better one. Often I'll go to I'll go on sprees where I'll see a review that someone did of a backpack, or I'll notice someone's backpack in a video, then try to scope out and see what it is, see if they listed it in the description and do research on it. Then I'm like, I'm going to buy a backpack.
And then you find out it's $450.
Right.
I bought mine off Amazon. It's a Manfrotto, but it was like a $99 special. Just has a little pouch in the bottom that I can put, store some gear in, but it works. It works. I'm frugal, so you'll hear that a lot.
This works. I know.
If it works, it works. It works.
And mine is currently working, and I don't want to spend more on a backpack, so I'm just going to use it until it no longer works.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a decent low pro. It was a 22 liter when I had my Fuji back in the day, and I really loved it. And I took it on a hike one day and packed it with snacks. And when I got home, I put it away, took the camera gear out, but put it away. And then about a month later, I grabbed it because I don't use a backpack all the time. When I shoot locally, I leave it at home. So about a month later, I went to go get it, maybe 2 months later, and I found that I left a banana in it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was ruined. No, it was ruined.
Yeah.
There was nothing you could do about this point. There was mold and stuff. Stupid move, bonehead move. So I decided to replace it with something a little bit cheaper that's just, does the job.
What that kind of reminds me of is, this is a little off topic, but our old dog, he was a retired racing greyhound. His name was Superbird. He was great. He was very dumb. A greyhound thing is they're very dumb, but they're the endearing kind of dumb. So you just oh, honey, let me help you with that kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But occasionally he would do something kind of that bordered on smart. And we had gone on a trip with him to a beach. And I had put snacks and stuff in my backpack and whatever, even for him and for me. And then we got home. I think it was just a day trip. We unpacked the thing, and probably the next day or two, I went to work. And I came home from work, and I noticed that this backpack was underneath of his bed, fully underneath. I just saw straps sticking out on the floor. And I was like, that's odd. Why is my backpack under his bed? So I picked it up, and the pocket that I remembered I had put his dog treats in was just shredded because I hadn't unloaded them, and he had got the bag while I was at work.
Yeah.
I had a lovely midday snack.
Yeah. The things we forget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how easily things can get ruined.
Yep.
It was
quite funny.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about that backpack. I I thought it was funny that he like made the attempt to hide it.
Yeah.
Like he's
Or he just ended up getting the pocket open under the bed.
he was large, so
Oh,
him
okay.
just like
All right.
underneath of the bed would be kind
Right.
of.
Right. All
That's
right.
another funny vision.
So he was smarter than you thought.
I think so.
Yeah.
He just played dumb very well.
Right.
Yeah. Down in the Bahamas, are you employing the same kind of techniques that you would here to locate stuff, or are you using like eBird or iNaturalist or something?
I did look at eBird to look at what I would expect to see when I'm down there. That's usually the best place to look. There wasn't any generalized areas. It's pretty small island. It might have been only 80 to 100 acres. Like that's not that much really. Maybe even less. It might have been 50 acres. So you're just more or less looking what you're going to see. You know, the hummingbird they have down there, you're probably going to look at some sort of garden area or where there's a high abundance of types of flowers. Then I knew there was some shorebirds and some gulls. So along the ocean, along some rocks, along some surf. That's where I found those. Yeah, so it's kind of just taking where I would think I would see species here, even during migration and stuff like that. Is where I looked there, and most things were exactly where I expected them to be. I didn't go into many of the jungles. It's funny. I was shirtless. I was painting a picture. I was shirtless with flip flops on, and I had swimming trunks on. And I was carrying around an 800 millimeter lens. So there was quite a few people that were like, "That's a really big lens," and I was just like, "Yeah, just taking photos of birds. Trust me, just birds."
Is that not the worst comment when you're just farting around in the woods and like, that's a really big lens? You're like,
Yeah, that's the first observation. The one thing nobody likes to hear is that must take really good photos.
yeah.
Yeah, that's usually what follows. I don't know why
And
we
it's
take
like-
such offense to that either, but
I don't either.
We
It's
do.
just like, yeah.
you
it's
get to a
true.
certain point where you realize that it is more than just the gear, even though the gear does help. Obviously, you need it, but at a certain point, you kind of you get a little pride, a little bit ego, and you're just like, well, I mean, here you go, you try it. You know what I mean?
It's
'Cause you put a lot of effort into. So
I don't know where I heard this, but it's not even really a quote. It's just a thing to say, but it's if you point a DSLR or a mirrorless camera with a lens on it at something, you'll get a good picture technically of kind of what you're pointing it at. There's not going to be any. Yeah, like it can be a snap, but it'll be a decent looking snapshot.
oh, I see what you're saying. Versus just a point
Like
and
a
shoot.
phone or a point and shoot.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
all they're usually a flat look. So it immediately, yeah. If I'm holding a big camera with a big lens, like it's gonna probably take a better picture than what people normally would be taking pictures with, right?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know why. You're right though. Like we get so like annoyed when people are like, "It's a
Well, I
big
think it's-
camera. I bet you that takes good shots." I'm like, yeah,
Because
leave me
I
alone.
think it's you remember when you first got it, and usually there's a little bit of a hill or some sort of time where you have to like
Learning curve.
learn. Yeah, there's a learning curve exactly, and you got to learn the lens, and you put some time in, and it's not just the lens. So I don't know. I think it's just more the ego.
Yeah,
It kind
probably.
of just comes along with it, or it's just a stupid question. It's like when you're outside and you're cleaning your car, and your neighbor yells over, "Mine next."
Oh man,
And you're just like, you fuck off, please.
the worst. I get this constantly because I work in IT, so they usually have some new thing
Yeah.
for a purpose. And I remember once at my old job, we were doing an addition, and in the addition there was a number of new boardrooms or meeting rooms. So we had like a TV. We ordered TVs for each one, and they were like 86-inch, 76-inch, like big TVs. And I had a skid of like 10 that I had to take from like shipping all the way across upstairs to our like storeroom. Every single person I passed was like, "Oh, my truck's just outside," or like, "I'm just right over here." Like, "Oh, I need a new TV myself." Like, you're just as funny as the guy who was 10 seconds ago.
You unoriginal bastard.
Yeah, like anything you could say anything else, it would have been better. But you went with the
Yeah.
same thing that everyone else did.
I also feel like I'm that person.
Oh, 100%. Like, and that's the worst part. It's like I'm also gonna take the chance to be
Yeah.
like, Hey, my truck's over here.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny what we don't like to hear ourselves, but we in turn do the same thing. And it's the same thing with photography too. I mean, I'll hear someone shitting on a photo and be like, "Oh, why are you doing that?" And then I'll send one and be like, "Look at this piece of shit." So, you know what I mean? Though it's just one of those things where you just hypocrisy, double standard. I don't know. It's just it's something that comes along with society and social media.
You ever do this and you're like, oh, another bird on a stick, another bird on a stick,
Yes.
another bird on, and you start,
And then
you get a nice picture of a bird on a stick, and you're like, check this out.
Yeah, and you're sitting there going, "Wow, 12 likes."
Yeah.
And everyone else is just scrolling by, going, "Oh, bird on a stick."
Bird on a stick, but you're like kind of proud of it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's funny. You have. This is kind of a tangent, but you have your
That's what
own
we're
personal.
here for.
Yeah, you have your own personal experience attached to that photo.
True.
You know what I mean? You selected it through hundreds of others. You put your edit on it. You know, you might have put a caption to it, and then you're like, "This has to do good."
My captions are all hot garbage.
I see your captions, and I'm like someone's got to like revoke this man card or something.
I had a guy. I got a buddy. His name is Nate, who lives up with me, and he works at one of the best bakeries around. And he used to do more bird photography. I think he's into more like family stuff now. He's got a young family, taking pictures of his kid and whatnot. But the one day, I don't remember what. Oh, I think it was a grebe. I think it was a redneck grebe just like farting around in the water. I think the caption I wrote was "Grebes be grebin'," and he messaged me just to comment. He's like, "That's such a Kyle, like sentence or caption or whatever."
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like, am I that fucking predictable now?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, good.
I think so.
I used to for a while on my captions. I would try to come up with a bird pun, and just have like if it was Wednesday or if it was a wren, I'd post it on Wren's Day, just because.
Yep. You're a very punny guy, so I can see that.
It's just what happens. Like someone will say something, and I'll be like, "That rhymes with this other thing." And then,
But you know what? I will say that I appreciate that more because you'll get more at least of a giggle or a reaction, whether it's good or bad for me, than you will if you copy and paste something from allaboutbirds.org. Or tell me that you walked up and down the hill twice in your grandpa's pajamas to get the shot.
Yeah.
I'm a little. Everyone kind of, or not everyone, but there's a group of guys, of people that all kind of talk and hang out. We've become friends, and I'm kind of like the anti-caption, guy, where I very rarely read them. I don't do them myself. Maybe it's because I'm more just taking photos of a documentarian kind of thing and just doing it as a hobby rather than trying to build myself up into some sort of like content creator or ambassador or something. So maybe that's the disconnect. But yeah, a lot of times they're hot garbage themselves, in my opinion. No, they really are. They're over embellished.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you really want, like, maybe a photo, maybe a caption adds to the photo. I'm not sure. It doesn't for me. Maybe it does for more people. Maybe I'm minority on that. But most of the time, I just notice it seems cheesy, and it certainly doesn't seem like it's that individual's actual personality. And usually when you get to know the person, you're like, oh, you know what? He's kind of over embellishing things or making it a little more magical.
The problem with that statement is I literally would say, "Grebes be grebin'."
But that's okay.
So, I'm trying to be genuine in them, I guess.
But I like that. Because I like it because I think a lot of it has to do with you don't know these people on a personal level. If you did know them on a personal level, and I think that's what they're trying to present. I think they're trying to present a bit of character or a bit of personality, but a lot of the times it comes across as just very phony. Or to me, anyway, I'm very critical though. I got called out on a Canon Facebook page just a couple of days ago for being critical of someone. He posted, do you know that photo of the bed of all the Nikon gear?
Oh, yeah.
Like 4 months ago, you sent that to me.
Yeah. This guy was like, this is the dream.
This guy posted it and said, currently with Nikon, thinking about switching to Canon. Thanks for welcoming you to the crew. But he used that photo. And right off the bat,
someone else's photo or his photo?
No, the photo that you sent me like 4 months ago. The one
but
on
he
Google.
The original poster of it?
He didn't say he was, and like a bunch of people in there didn't, suggested they thought he just stole the image and used it as well. And then I asked him to see some photos, like, kind of show your work type of thing, because he had that photo has every single Z mount lens, right? It has
It's
every
got a
lens.
bunch.
It has all of them. And he said that I wish I could show you, but I have them basically behind a paywall on my OnlyFans. That's where my good photos are.
Okay.
So then I looked at his profile, and the guy said, well, go look at his profile. I said, well, I did, but I was also told that all his good work's on OnlyFans. So I can't really justify, giving you my full critique on your work with all your beautiful lenses. And he wouldn't show them, so I don't know. I got called being very critical because I was being a little negative about it. So,
Yeah, I can be that person too.
yeah. Well, the worst thing is actually just do not comment.
Yeah,
Move on.
it's hard.
It's
really hard.
I make the mistake all the time. You just don't comment.
I had a situation happen a couple years ago. I don't even know if I've told you. What's fun about our relationship is it's still kind of new. So
Yeah, we're learning things. Yeah, new stories.
yeah, we're learning stuff about each other, and I don't know if I can there's less chance of me doubling up on a story.
Right.
But I used to keep fish in tanks, and obviously not just on the shelf.
I used to keep fish, not for long though. Not for long.
They didn't they died real quick. And the particular fish that I was keeping, they can be very picky about specific aspects of keeping this particular fish. And one of them is kind of like mixing the lakes. So there's 3 lakes in Africa, and ideally, kind of the snooty, uppity opinion is to only keep fish together from each of the 3 lakes. Because one of the things that can happen is if you keep them, if you mix them up, is you can actually have hybridization and crossbreeding because they're all kind of related. And what you then get, this is a long tangent for a dumb story, but what you then get is these fish that aren't really this one species of fish and not this other one. It's a hybrid between the 2. Mm-hmm. It might look pretty, but it's not one or the other. And people like me kind of were a little bit of a purist of it. Anyway,
warbler lovers are salivating right now.
Yeah, they're kind of warblery.
Yeah.
So this person and I mentioned something about the you shouldn't keep those fish together or something. It was something like that, or it was just commenting like that's not actually that fish. It's probably a hybrid. Mm-hmm. The discussion spiraled out of control, and I realized that it was spiraling out of control, and I started taking screenshots of it, which I'm happy about. I'm not posting them anywhere. But at the time, I had my workplace on my Facebook account. I was like, I work here. So I go to work the next day, and I go to work the next day, and my manager, who was like a year older than me, was like, why did I have this person online last night telling me I should fire you? And I was like, oh, is it so-and-so? And he was like, yeah. So I showed him the conversation that me and this person had. And he was like, for what it's worth, I'm kind of on your side, because it spiraled into like way beyond fish. But he's like, can you just not say that you work here on your Facebook profile? And I was like, that's probably a good idea. But then from that point, I was starting to like realize sort of how out of the internet and out of this little thing these problems could kind of get. Mm-hmm. And from that point, I've started to just be a little more conscious about what I'm posting. Normally, it's like one time someone said like, this is how I like to comment now. If I feel like being a bit of a dink just because it's fun. On this bird group I'm on, someone posted a feather and they just said, what is this from? I was like, probably a bird, but it could have been from a pillow or a duvet as well. Maybe a jacket. Just like, and they like, I got some like likes and laughs on that.
It's like passive aggressive humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, it was the most unhelpful comment, but it was still made a couple people laugh.
Not incorrect either, though.
Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily mean to the person either. It was just a bullshit comment for no reason.
Right.
And that's kind of what I aim for now.
Yep.
I do sometimes fall off the train. I'll admit that, but usually I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Either if I'm not trying to be helpful, I'm trying to be so unhelpful that it's funny.
Yeah. Once you get in down that kind of that rabbit hole and you comment and someone responds to that comment and it's negative, and as soon as you respond again, you might as well just delete your comment. It's going to continue. It's going to keep going and escalating, and you know.
A while ago, when I first started bird photographing, I think everyone does want to find an owl right off the hop. Owls are one of those things that like since they're so elusive, it's like if you find an owl, you feel like you've done something.
Yes.
But most of the time, you're just being told where an owl is.
Certainly when you first start out.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So there's an owl in sort of my neighborhood that has 2 perches in this one park. And most of the time people know about the one perch, but not the other one, because the other one is a little more secluded. But so many people post this owl, this screech owl, in this one post. And at one point I heard someone call him Fred, Phred. I don't know why.
I don't like
But I
that
was
at
like,
all.
No, I think it's fun. So I was just like, I'm going to keep calling this
Liberals.
screech owl Fred. Liberals.
Freaking liberals.
So every time I see this screech posted, because I recognize the perch, I'm like, oh, it's Fred. He's posted probably once a week.
Right.
Easily. And I would normally be like, you should leave owls alone when they're resting, when they're roosting. Try not to disturb them.
Right.
I've visited this fella so many times and just like watched him. He does not give a flying fuck about people at all.
No, you're so used to seeing them like all day.
Literally, the perch that most of the time people post of him is the tree. The tree is like a broken off, like some kind of deciduous tree.
Yep.
But it's touching this edge of the trail. It's at a fork in the trail. So there's like 3 trailheads that meet at this one spot.
Right.
And this screech is right here. And if you didn't know he was there, you wouldn't have any idea. But if you know he's there, he gets people walking feet.
Yeah.
3 or 4 feet above your head.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. He sees it all day, even though a lot of people don't see him. So they even get habituated in that sense. You know.
But like, I guess where I'm going with this is like, is there a line to which a celebrity bird becomes kind of habituated enough that it's fine again? Like,
No,
'cause, like,
I don't think so, because it's action. It's
Yeah.
typically action that creates the habituated bird to become threatened in its environment. Not so much that it is habituated, but it's usually a reaction from people, or people being around too frequent, or not giving enough space. I would say that's when it becomes more of an endangerment than the habituation itself.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree. But I feel this particular screech is kind of, it messes with my mind a little bit, because it's kind of almost against what my default wants to be, is like, leave it alone. It's nature. It's doing its thing. But at the same time, just because of where it's chosen to have its spot, it's subjected to all this foot traffic all the time. And it's now to the point where I think it literally it doesn't care. Like, I've seen kids standing at the base of the tree, looking up, hitting the tree with sticks and screaming at it. And its eyes are closed and it's just fuzzed up in its little nook.
Yeah,
not moving.
And that stuff's going to happen. Is there any different than, it's interesting because I've heard of, let's bring photographers into it. I've heard photographers hitting the tree to wake up a sleeping owl so they can get eyes or something. So,
and that immediately makes me go, no bueno.
But the funny thing is, they sound like two of the same things, but they're two completely different things because the actual outcome or the decision on why to hit the tree, one is a little bit more innocent.
Deliberate.
Innocent. One's deliberate and one's innocent.
Yeah.
One's innocent, one's their kids. My daughter, little tangent. My daughter was chasing a ruddy turnstone in the spring down the beach while we were trying to photograph it when she was like 5, and we're like, you can't really do that. So there's that, or there's me continually chasing it and interrupting its feeding, rather than
Right.
staging up beach and the way it's foraging and intercepting it. So there's that too, So there's intention, certainly intention involved.
Yeah. I tend to want to be kind of like you had described there. Position yourself that they come towards you,
Right.
rather than running after them and trying to
Of course.
corner them and getting
how
a
do you,
spot.
But how do you do that with an owl?
That's the hard part.
A perched or like a roosting owl.
Well, I think that was one of the so often when I'm one of the things I kind of like to do for my own knowledge is if someone knows where something is and they know that I'm not the kind of person that would disturb this animal, and they trust me enough to let me in on this location. Usually the first time I see something, I've been told where it is. And what I'll do is I'll go there and try to mentally map out where this thing is.
Right.
So there's a barred owl in a park nearby, and I was told kind of the location that it's usually found in. And I had to go back a whole bunch of times. I did eventually find it, and then I had gone back a couple of times after that and was able to find it quicker because I kind of understood where that particular one anyway would sit in the trees.
For sure.
And it may not have been in the same tree, but it was the same
Kind of vicinity, same area.
vicinity.
Yeah.
So then I was able to find another owl, a barred owl, at a different park. I knew the general area, but I kind of was like, oh, it's probably in this spot because the other one was in a similar spot, and it was. So it's kind of cool to be able to. So when I ask for these locations, I'm not just looking at the animal. I'm looking at where the animal's sitting, how high it is in the tree, how close it is to path or a water source or field or something. Just so I can kind of start building a repertoire of when I come across this. If I'm in a new woods to me, how can I kind of maximize where I'm looking?
And that's kind of what I said. Like back a few minutes ago, I said you usually get locations at first because that's kind of the training to know where to find them, what habitat, wood lots near water, like saw-whets are usually near water, or at least an eye shot of water. So yeah, like you kind of have to. There are a select few that are only going to just take those locations and just use those and not learn anything from them. But those people are also going to go back to those exact spots numerous times and continually for the same shots versus actually using it as experience to level up and kind of get off and find your own type of stuff. There's nothing better than being able to like locate your own owls and have your own personal time with that owl without any other. The owl knows you're there, but there's a lot less distractions even for yourself. You even catch yourself sitting there and kind of watching the owl yourself rather than readjusting because someone's in your way now. Like I don't really like shooting that way. You know what I mean? There hasn't been too many celebrity or known owl locations that I've actually partook in. So it's kind of where I draw the line a little bit myself.
Yeah, I'm. Like we've talked about, I'm both, I would say, in equal parts now, bird person and a photographer of birds. So my bird person mind wants to go see something that I may not have seen before, or like an accidental, or a celebrity bird, like especially if it's something that I haven't seen before. Like it's like I want to see that.
Right.
But then my kind of internal compass is like, you shouldn't also add to the thousands of people that are going to see this thing. So maybe You should stay out of it. Find another one. There'll be another chance. Do you really want to see that thing where it's not supposed to be? Or would it be a more enriching experience if I were to see, like right now, there's a glossy ibis in a town close to here.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Not really supposed to be here at all.
Right.
Would I rather like I could get a shot and put my eyes on one here, but it might be a more rewarding experience to see one and it's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it was Florida. I
think
saw
so.
lots in Florida, stuff like that. But you're kind of looking at it one-dimensionally because you're only looking at it from the image and the photography side. A lot of people are adding to lists, so they also add to the groups by just
I hate lists.
wanting to see the bird as a birder, as an Ontario list, to cross that off. So
Yeah.
that can become not part of the issue. You know, everyone's equal.
I think it's the issue.
Birders will say that they're not as intrusive as photographers. And I'd argue sometimes in some locations they're not, because they'll be with scopes. There might be something like I don't know, a bird that's just staying far, far off into a field. Like you might find out like a Ross's goose or something like that.
Well, there was that scissor-tailed
Yeah,
flycatcher
that was flying
over
way
here.
out into the marshes and stuff. Right, exactly.
It was in like a cornfield kind of. There's a tree in
Yeah.
cornfield.
The funny thing is that when they're too far off, a lot of the photographers won't go, and you'll get a lot of the birders.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think you get as many birders going to owl locations as you do photographers. That may be my ignorance, but I don't think that's the case.
It feels that way. That
It only makes sense.
well, you see
gonna-
some people's feeds that are exclusively owls,
At
and you're like,
Downsview.
right?
They're at Downsview Park in Toronto because they pay taxes and they should be able to use that park. Right.
Correct.
So they own the owls almost. So they should be.
Yeah.
They should be able to. That was one example of a reasoning that I had got from an individual when asking him.
Because they pay taxes.
Yeah, they live in Toronto. They should be able to use that park. That's not the question. That wasn't actually the question I was asking. But if that's the answer, then
Yeah.
I know that. Then I can give my own formal answer.
Theoretically, if you discover an owl in a park,
Mm-hmm.
you can observe and take pictures ethically.
1,000%.
Because it's in a park doesn't necessarily mean
No.
that it's bad.
No.
The bad part is like had we previously discussed, where people roll up and throw sticks and bait and
Or just groups. Or just groups of 30,
yeah.
50, 20, 15. If it's every day or maybe there's 15 at 2 o'clock, then there's 25 at 3 o'clock. And then after work at 5 o'clock, there's 35. And then at 7 o'clock.
and there's still the 25 that were there from 2 o'clock still there.
Well, more than likely. But they're not adding to the problem. That's what
They're continuing.
But that's
the
what they
problem.
would say.
Yeah.
You know,
They were there first.
I got blocked from a certain individual who was trying to stick up for a specific park and that no one was doing anything wrong. And, that's complete bullshit. We all know that. But it was more or less just kind of gaslighting. And, I won't get into it, but it wasn't even a comment on her post. It was a comment to someone's comment on her post. And I guess I just didn't align with hers. And I got blocked. But it's funny. It's kind of it's kind of like you're kind of only when you can't surround yourself with like yes men. You know what I mean? There's got to be a little bit of like grit. There's got to be a little bit of abrasion, in conversations.
That's why I keep you around.
That's why a lot of people keep me around. That's why this podcast kind of works because you kind of got to.
You're not wrong.
Silk. You know what I mean? So like, it's hard to stick up for locations like this that are heavily used and sometimes abused. And if you do know that it's an issue. If you do go, you're more than likely adding to it only by default. Only by default, just because it's been a known issue. So if you continue to go, you're kind of looking past all that, are you not?
I believe I even asked you that question at one point. I was like, if I go, I could observe them ethically.
You could.
But it's just me going there, knowing that they have been treated unethically,
Right.
adding to it. And ultimately I decided yes.
Well, I think it is because you have to remove that information from your brain and from the conversation to take yourself there and to pretend that things haven't gone on there. I understand
Yeah.
if you want to self-govern, I get it, but it's really difficult because I've been in situations and locations where I have self-governed and I thought that I've been making the right decisions, but someone else or an onlooker might have thought I was a little too close or I
Yeah.
was. So it's tough, but if it's a big known area that a lot of people congregate to and there's a lot of movement and people coming and going on a daily regular basis, there definitely are. The owls are hunting around you. They're maybe not as settled. They might be waking up a little more. They might not be as relaxed as they could be if you just let them be. Is that going to completely change their life? I don't know. I can't put science on it. I'm just more or less putting own personal ethics involved versus the science itself.
Well, here might be a ridiculous comparison, but I'm going to make it anyway. So, my dog is asleep all day when we're at work,
Get a job.
right? Pay rent.
Yeah, really. So is mine.
Yeah. So, when we are on the weekends and stuff, and we keep him up throughout the day, like he has a big sleep on like Monday, Tuesday. Or even like throughout the day. Like yesterday, we were at a little festival nearby, and just like being awake in the middle of the day, he was like shutting her down while we were standing around in big crowds of people. He was just like laying on the concrete because he's like, I'm tired. That's just me taking my dog for a day out, right? When all these people are awake and observing these owls, oftentimes that's when the owl's trying to sleep.
Yes.
And if we're there, if photographers are there, wanting the birds to look at them and not be sleeping or not be recharging, like that's going to affect their ability to hunt maybe that night. Maybe they're not going to have the sleep they need. They can't function because I know that when I don't get my sleep, I don't function very well.
Right.
So like, I think that's an easy transition there to be like, yeah, if I don't sleep, I don't function very well.
Yeah.
So if I'm disturbing this bird while it's trying to sleep,
Yeah, I mean,
it's not going to.
I think the science behind it is, and I don't know if the science is 100%, proved, but I had read that the average bird only sleeps for about 9-second intervals.
Oh, wow.
So they're really, really small intervals, and I don't know if this is for all owls, small birds, shorebirds, but when I was photographing a piping plover down at Darlington Provincial or Park there, I was shooting this juvenile, and it was having these little power naps. It would sleep for 10, 15 seconds, wake up, look around, it would preen for a few minutes, and then fall back asleep. So I certainly observed it in that sense where I think they are taking these little power naps. So I think they still are going to get the right amount of sleep, but there's certainly not going to be as many rodents around while you're stomping around following it too. So are you preventing it from actually catching anything? Because how many photos do you really see of photographers who have posted something where they're actually capturing and eating something? There's some, but it doesn't happen all the time.
I saw.
And maybe that's not a good example, but you see
No,
more of them just perched and relaxing, and maybe they don't take the advantage to go out and hunt as early if they're waiting. Maybe they're waiting for people to leave. I don't know. Semantics. Who knows?
Here's an example of something that I had to make a decision on once, and not that I regret it, but I did the right thing. The barred owl I was telling you about. One of the times I saw it, I walked into the location I thought he would be, and he was there, and he looked way more alert than usual. He immediately saw me, turned his head, but started looking around, and I realized it was actually actively pursuing a black squirrel around this tree. And the squirrel was hopping to farther trees, and the owl would hop to like another tree close by and make dives at it and it looked like it was trying to like scare it off the tree by flying kind of towards it and stuff. I would have loved to just pursue that, but because I mean, eating is sort of important for anything. I ultimately didn't want to be even partially responsible for this bird not getting its meal for the day. And I also didn't, at the same time, a little bit, didn't want to be responsible for maybe the squirrel did get away. Like, I don't know. And but it was up to the squirrel and the bird to figure it out.
For sure.
Like, I didn't want to have
I like
a
that.
part of that.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see for a minute or two, but I had to, like, I left. Like, I didn't take any pictures. I didn't stay to watch it with my eyes. I was just like, this is nature's unfolding and it needs to unfold without me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, but it would have been some cool shots.
There's definitely
probably.
that side of the coin, and there's probably more people. There's probably more people are on that side of the coin. I would say there's a good amount of active people, certainly locally, that would jump at the chance if someone called them up and said active barred owl hunting. They'd be there.
Yeah.
So it I think it's a small population, but it certainly can become an issue, certainly in the GTA when fall and winter comes around, which we're quickly approaching on.
You're the worst when it comes to like the fall and the winter because
Thank you.
you'll be like, yeah, no problem. Because you'll send me like, oh, I saw 3 barred owls in a random woodlot on my way home from work.
If you just go to Downsview and just tell everyone it's a random woodlot, you can see as many barred owls as you want.
Oh, that's the secret?
No.
You've just been lying to me this whole time.
No,
You're actually one of the active ones at Downsview.
yes. This is just total gaslighting.
Shut up. Don't tell Kyle.
Yeah, I mean,
He thinks he's awesome.
but the funny thing is like you go to these parks and most of the time, and it's definitely seasonally related to species. Like 2 years ago was the short-eared owls. Last year at Downsview it was the long-eared owls. It's been the snowy owl at one time. I find that locations change outside of these more habituated gold mines. They change because last year I had that road that I had 3 barred owls and I could see them regularly. Year before that, like nothing. I had an eastern screech owl just in the park in town. Last year, nothing. Like I saw 40 individual snowy owls the first year starting photography. I'm really looking for them. This year, I only saw 17 or 20, and I want to say 15 of them were on Wolf Island in one day. So a lot of things change, but what doesn't change is these more resident owls that kind of get beaten up, for lack of better terms, with photos.
Great horns in the London cemetery.
Oh, is that where that is? That the one with the hole where they're always sticking their heads out and stuff?
It might be.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I haven't gone there.
It's a famous one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that post those particular
Yeah.
great horns all the time, and I can't even find one great horn. So.
Yeah. Now, I have found great horns outside of your typical known locations, and I have visited a few in some known locations, but they're kind of more off the beaten track down in like Durham region area. I want to say great horned owls are probably one of the easier ones to find, which is ironic that you haven't found one yet. Screech owl is actually harder, even though they're probably more prominent. They're definitely harder because they're camouflaged where they hang out. They're usually in some sort of roosting hole. So it's nice that you have those two. But yeah, great horned owls really shock me that you haven't seen it, because you haven't seen an adult, right?
Yeah. I was told where a nest of babies was a couple years ago. It was close to my work, so I would rip over there at lunch, and it was in like a really residential area, kind of.
They
just
usually
like a
are.
green space.
Yeah, they usually are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like a green space between two kind of subdivisions, and this again, like that screech that I was mentioning, the nest that these great horns decided on was like a tree right beside the path, and the tree was probably like as round as this fucking can. Like it was the skinniest tree, and there's a little crotch in it, and these 2 baby great horns could barely fit in this little crevice, and they were just out in the open. Like there was.
Oh, they were branching.
But the tree,
were they branching at the time?
there wasn't even branches to branch on.
So they were on the nest still.
Yeah,
Because
they were standing.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
They were standing on the nest, but the nest was in such a sharp crotch, like they couldn't go sideways.
A lot of the times, the bigger one will like push out the small one. when they're in tight spots like
I heard
that.
that.
Yeah. Same with eagles.
Yep.
They'll just push the other one out and go, well, now I'm the only one here to get food.
But I spent days there trying to find the parents because I assume they had to be close.
you
and there's
always-
like some huge spruce trees around and stuff, and they're probably in there, and I just could never find them.
There's always at least one, if not both, around when they're out. Usually one, but yeah, they can be
Craig's
really
canoeing
hard.
down rivers and sending me pictures of fucking great horns that he's seeing, and you're doing the same thing. Ultimately, the reason I haven't is really just effort. But one day I'd like to see one. It'd be pretty cool.
We'll get you there. I think it was in the spring. I sent you one every weekend, right? That one that was nesting
much.
just outside my house in my town there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like every week. I'm like, Kyle, he's still waiting for you to come do the 3-hour drive to come see him.
There's
For the
a
shitty
couple
shot.
people live. Yeah, there's a couple of people around me that take pictures of them in like old red-tailed hawk nests and crow
That's
nests
where
and
I
stuff
find
around.
them all. Yeah.
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 And they'll just be driving down the road. They'll see a nest and kind of pull over and investigate.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I actually do a mental, and sometimes I'll use Google Maps and I'll put a pin, and it'll be of potential like old red-tailed hawk nests, because the great horned owls nest months before. They'll start getting on the nest February, whereas May, June is when you're going to see the red tails. So they'll take advantage of those nests that are available long before the red tails are on them.
We're entering hooting season very shortly.
We are. Yeah.
There's a little nature, not a park, but it's like a town that's trying to build a little naturey area for like with trails and stuff. And we were there with the dog once, and I heard a couple winters ago there was hooting going on. And I kind of went to the spot that I thought it was coming from, but it was like a couple of like spruce trees that were really close together. And I couldn't get like into them, but I presume they were in there.
Right. Nice.
But yeah, I hope to. I haven't. Owls are one of those. There's birding, and then there's like owling. It's like its own.
It does feel like its
thing
own thing.
almost.
It does.
It's like birding squared.
Yeah. we got to get you to Amherst.
Yes.
So that's funny.
We
That's
absolutely
funny.
do.
It's funny that I bring up Amherst because, like, can you think of a more celebrity? The funny thing is, it's a celebrity location. It's not a celebrity bird. It's an island off of Kingston, Ontario. There's two of them, Wolf and Amherst Island, and they're really, really good for wintering raptors. Now, raptors of all sorts, not just owls. So it's more of a celebrity location, which you could certainly turn. You can have your own argument for that too, going to a spot like that. But there's plenty of space. You can only stay on the roads. They can fly off if they don't want to be around. And I think that's the biggest part. I guess it's the space that they have.
Yeah.
I think it's the space.
Yeah. I think.
So it makes me feel good about it, at least that I'm okay. That I'm not really. And
Yeah, that's true.
And you're always looking for more. So you spend a couple minutes with one, and then you drive down the road and you look for more. It's not like when you go to a low ravine or a little woodlot and you find one and then you spend all your time with it.
Yeah.
So there's slight differences, but there's an argument to be made for both.
Yeah. I have to up my owl game for sure. To me, like, the snowies I don't want to say they don't count, but for me, they're a lot easier to find than
Yeah, you have them somewhat
other
close.
owls. I do. And I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit of the decision to move here. Like, it factored in a little bit. Because the funny part was that the year before we moved here, I was driving up this way to find snowies.
Right.
The year before. And I was like, then when we were buying a house, we happened to look up here. I'm like, oh, it'd be so close to the snowies. But then that's exactly the same time that you said that you haven't seen as many in the last couple years. So
yeah, they kind of go through their. I guess it depends on a science thing again, but I guess it depends on the population of their prey up in the Arctic when they're doing their breeding.
What do they call it? It's something.
The lemming.
No.
Oh.
Yes,
It's the lemming, but yeah.
It's the lemming, but there's a name for it when there's like certain years where there's more.
It's not an eruption. No, it's not an interruption. It's something like that.
Yeah.
We sound like
It's not erection.
no, which is
erection year.
awkward. One of us has one.
Have you? This is a kind of a tangent, but have you seen the way a snowy owl courts?
That's a great
It's
question.
the
I don't
funniest
think I have.
I haven't seen it live, but apparently the male will just like walk around with a vole or a lemming, and just kind of like, "Yo, I have food,"
I mean,
and the girl's like, "Bet."
you're good at capturing food. You're gonna
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Our children will not die.
And also, their nests are kind of morbid because they'll especially when there's an egg or a baby, they'll line the nest with lemming
Yeah,
carcasses.
Yeah, sure.
Not only because they're soft, but because it's food.
Yeah, they can eat. They can eat their foundation.
Yeah, they literally are like wake up in like Hansel and Gretel's like cottage.
Yeah.
Just
Could you
biting the
imagine you were
wall.
like really into spam and you just kind of like built a wall of spam and you could just
It's like an igloo of spam.
yeah.
I think the name of this episode is Igloo of Spam.
Igloo of spam. there's your Instagram clip.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it hasn't been as good the last few years. I can't remember I can't think of the name of what that interruption year is when they all come down because of food sources. But it's every 4 to 6 years, 5 years. We got.
I'm quickly Googling.
Oh, we can hear you. So, yeah, the last few years haven't been nearly as good. But that just means a good year is coming up.
That's theoretically what it's supposed to be.
Eventually. I mean, it's only up from here. I have them 5 minutes from my door as well, so it's really nice to be able to see them. I had 4 or 5 of them at one time in my area where I could just do a little 10-minute drive behind them in the back roads and find a few perched on some fence posts or down on the ground. I usually go in the morning, and funny thing with snowy owls is you'll find them low in the morning, and as the day goes on, they get higher and higher, and they perch higher and higher. So I always tend to find them lower, and that's what you'll see with my photography, just being a morning guy.
It looks like the word is eruption. But with an I.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Not like Van.
Van Halen.
Like, Van Halen.
So good.
That's eruption.
So good. I wish we could use that song for our intro. Yeah.
I could do a shitty cover of it. Actually, it's not true. I could attempt to do a shitty cover.
Who wants to hear
That
it?
would be extra shitty. No, I don't even
Leave
have
it
a
in the
guitar.
comments.
I, just,
I do actually have a guitar. I'll go get it.
Do you?
Yep.
I have a bass guitar.
Oh, and I have
don't
an
know if that counts.
acoustic.
It's over. Oh man, we got to start a band now.
Okay,
too.
so
This is bad.
it's not just a podcast anymore. It's
podcast band,
nights are live jam sessions
just like unplugged.
that we're called the Owlets.
The Owlets.
Yeah, we're the young pups. But anyway, yeah. So I'm looking forward to a few good owl seasons in the next couple. So Downsview.
I need to
Downsview's been quiet the last little bit, so I'm excited to see all those posts.
Oh man, so many. Sure.
And they're all the same thing.
It's the same like 5 birds.
Yeah, so a couple guys in the group want to go to Wolf or Amherst on January 1st. We try to get together. And I told them that whatever island they were going to, I'll go to the opposite one. And it was joking, but the funny thing about it is I'll have different photos and different, even though same species, but different landscapes or different perches. Or it kind of bugs me sometimes when I have to share
a spot.
With shorebirds, it's all like the same landscape, so you can't really tell if you're shooting with somebody else. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to tell.
Unless you take a picture of them there.
Yeah, you could do people bokeh for sure. Yeah, you could.
Well, you've taken pictures of me laying on a rock or like Craig's on it before.
But that's definitely not what I'm gonna lead my post with.
What? Well, come on. This should be your first post.
It should be.
Like,
I know. This is putting our friendship to the test. But
this ugly lump was at the spot when I got there.
I'm not saying I won't share location, but if I'm going with 3 or 4 people and then 3 of them are like, "Oh, we can't make it," and I'm like, "Oh, damn," I'm still going. Like,
I think that's happened to us a couple times.
yeah.
We're all pooing out because of weather
Well,
or
our kids.
whatever.
Yep. Yep.
Or kids.
Yep.
Yeah, you have some dance recital you got to go to.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
usually my
yeah,
dance
well, I'm going to go
recital.
look at grebes.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, it's funny. I actually really enjoy photographing wildlife on my lonesome. It's very therapeutic, and I'm the only one with those photos for the day. It's nice.
I also do, but I find that it's easier for me to stay motivated when there's someone else.
Kind of like this podcast.
Kind of exactly like
Yeah,
this podcast,
it is
where
nice to have someone to push you a little bit or get you out of bed because shit, he's going. I don't want to, call him when I'm supposed to be there. Going, I'm not going to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. Kind of hold
Well,
you.
even like when you've hunkered down at a spot for a few minutes and there's nothing
That's true too.
going on.
Yeah.
You can kind of bounce off an idea with the others, like, should we move
Yep.
or do you think want to stay here?
I also sometimes think that someone else might want to move and I'm kind of hindering them. And if I was there by myself, I might hang out longer. But I'm like, oh, if you want to move, we can move. So I'm kind of like, I'm trying to get the most out of what I can get that day and also not appease, but be encouraging to the other person. Like, we can move if we want. Whereas those conversations don't happen when it's just me.
Yeah, that's often, I like shooting birds with my wife, which is a weird sentence.
That sounds terrible.
I like taking pictures. It does.
That sounds terrible.
But like,
I don't know
I
if your
feel
wife,
the
though,
same way that,
so.
yeah, you've never met her.
No. Maybe it's wonderful. I'm sorry. Her name's Jen,
wonderful.
right?
Jen,
I'm
yes.
sorry, Jen. I bet birding with you is absolutely wonderful.
It's great.
I'll take that
She
back.
actually
No,
points
take it
birds
back.
out now.
It's funny. My wife does that too. And even a guy that I carpool with, he's like, hey, there's a red-tailed hawk. And I'm like,
Broke
I
you.
did break you. You're telling me where birds are.
Yeah. But like, I feel the same way when if I'm waiting somewhere for too long, I'm like, we should keep going because my wife and dog want to be walking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then she says like, oh, it's fine. You can stay there as long as you want.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
But I feel guilty about
Yeah.
it.
That was one thing when
So
I
I
was
wanna-
in Coco Cay was like doing that one day of shooting was my wife was not there, but she was also on a lounge chair in the sun with a book. It's not like she had kids to worry about jumping around in the water. That's a no-go. It's one thing to have a nice kit that you can take along with you and it's portable and you can have a good long focal range in case you don't have a nice area to shoot where you can get up close. But when you got kids, forget it all. Leave it all at home.
You do
Leave it
look
all.
like kind of a lunatic sometimes when you go to a butterfly conservatory and you have a big white prime lens on your. Actually it wasn't prime, but I brought my Sony A9 and 2-6 when we went to the butterfly conservatory, which is like an indoor
We'd
thing.
expect that though. For me,
Yeah, but people had like 70 to 200s
yeah, of course,
and like
sure.
30 or like the 75 to 300s.
Yeah.
Like those make more sense.
Yeah.
I have this like massive thing.
Right. Imagine having the 800 in there and you got to be like against a wall. Go back.
Move back. Move back. No farther. It's still got to.
The nice thing about being inside is maybe you have less like heat distortion and atmospheric issues to shoot.
It's pretty humid in there. I don't know.
True. Yeah, that's true. I've never been to a butterfly conservatory, so
That was where that swallow-tailed
Okay.
flycatcher was.
it was
a
eating
couple-
all
it was in
those
the parking lot.
butterflies.
Yeah.
Smacking the glass trying to get to them.
Well, I guess the first time someone saw it, they were eating lunch and there's like a little cafeteria and it was sitting just like in a bush outside and they were like, that doesn't look like it's
Is that a
supposed to be here."
leucistic peregrine or something? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. They're small. Are they small though?
the-
They're small.
Yeah, it was probably the same size
Merlin?
as like a kingbird.
Oh, kingbird. Oh, they're a lot smaller. Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
but it had like the tail was probably
Yeah,
12
yeah,
inches long.
yeah.
Like it had this big
That's
long.
why they
it looked
bigger.
like when it was flying, it looked like an X shape
Right.
because the wings were out and then it had like the trailer.
Yeah.
It looked like a really skinny butterfly kind
Right.
of when I think about it.
Nice. It sounds beautiful.
It was really cool, and that's one of the few celebrity or like migrant birds I've went. One that I regret a little bit, and I don't know why I regret it. A couple of years ago, there was a swallow-tailed kite over by London that was hanging out in this farmer's field eating like grasshoppers and dragonflies and stuff. Well, I should have went to see it. I saw so many articles about hundreds of people lined up on the side of the road with their tripods and 600 F4s.
Right.
but I don't know. I'd like to. I feel like with a raptor or like a bigger bird that can. I don't know. I feel better about like a more mobile bird, I guess, being able to like
And
fly farther back.
what about something that's also like diurnal, like that will hunt during the day?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like a screech owl is not hunting during the day.
Yeah.
Barred owl will do it in the early morning or late afternoon. Short-eared owls notoriously do hunt throughout the evenings, afternoons.
Do you know what something that hunts during twilight and dusk is called? Like you know how you say diurnal or nocturnal?
Yeah,
There's a middle one. Do you know what it is?
that just hunts. Wait, what do you mean? From between what times?
Like sunrise and sunset, like dusk and sunrise.
Only during the day.
Yeah.
Only during like
No, not the day. The beginning and the end of it.
Oh, so golden hour.
Yeah, there's a name for something that hunts and eats during that time. I want to know if you know what that word
No,
is.
I just thought I always thought of that as just as golden hour.
Crepuscular.
Oh no, never heard of that. And
Crepuscular
give me an example.
is like
What is an animal that does that?
I believe most like a barred owl. I believe is crepuscular because they can. I don't know if now I'm doubting myself.
I put you on the
I
spot
can't remember.
now.
Yeah, I can't remember if that's during twilight and like sunrise and dusk or that kind of thing, or it's they hunt equally in both day and night.
Okay.
All right, we got to Google right now.
This is like Jamie. Look it up. This is like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Jamie, Jamie, look it up.
I think I sent it to you.
Actually,
I think I
Craig-
saved it on my Instagram. I'll send it to you, Jamie.
Craig was joking about how he should be our Jamie.
I would love that. Craig is a wonderful man.
Yeah, okay. So it's of resembling or relating to twilight.
Okay.
So it's an animal appearing active in twilight.
So would that be a bat, or is that nocturnal?
Bat. I think bats start off nocturnal, but they kind of start here,
All
but
right.
then they are all
I
night.
hope
they're up all
I
night.
hope everyone fact checks this.
Well, this is the Merriam-Webster dictionary.
Oh.
But I guess
Lock her down.
crepuscular insects, crepuscular activity, crepuscular birds. That's kind of what it's.
All right. I hope you're.
It's just active during twilight.
I hope you're
or,
saying
like,
it
low
wrong
light.
too.
Oh, probably. I know I don't say things right, but actually, you know who's bad for that? There's a guy at work.
I wouldn't know
think
that.
it's just. I think it's. Well, it's not even. It's just like a weird.
Is he
He might listen
overconfident?
to this.
Yeah, stop
No.
yourself. If he might listen to this, stop yourself. You're a wonderful human being.
I've told him this before, but like our boss is named something, and he'll say another name that's close. That's not the same name.
On purpose.
I don't think it's on purpose.
it's-
I think it's actually the opposite.
Oh, if it's humor, I
so he
love it.
thinks it's no. I think he thinks he's saying it right, but it's not.
I don't like that. Get
so
your shit
it'd be
together.
like saying my name is Mutt, but like it's spelled Matt, and he would say Matt,
Yeah.
but you'd want it pronounced Mutt.
Right.
That's a really dumb
No,
example.
yeah,
but
no,
it's
no.
something
No, I
like
get it. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's just weird. But like, there's so many words that I'll have pronounced for my whole life a certain way, and then someone's like, it's actually like this. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Pileated.
Oh man, we're going back to this.
That's a callback.
Pileated. Yeah, if you know the reference, like you're literally an OG because there's only been 3. But like
Friends of the pod.
pileated sounds wrong because I've never said it that way.
Pileated.
Pileated is how I've said it, and there's pileated,
Pileated?
pileated.
Nobody. Would someone drop a fucking comment and put the syllables and what it actually is supposed to sound like, please?
I literally, on like a dumb face. Remember we talked about like dumb Facebook stuff.
Yeah.
There was one of these like weeks ago on this
And
subject.
it was so
on
dumb
pileated.
that you didn't even learn how to actually say it.
Well, I saw one. I was on an IT thing the other day, and someone said people who say data is wrong, and they said data.
Who did you call the
And
guy
then-
on Star Trek?
Right. That's sort of one of the ones. Okay. Do we want to play a game right now to see how well we're going to get along for the rest of this podcast?
Yep.
Animated moving pictures. What are they called?
An animated.
3 letters. If you send me like a movie reference, you don't send me a video. You send me a shorter one.
Art.
No, it starts with a G.
Oh.
GIF.
Oh, GIF.
Okay, it's a GIF. Perfect.
Don't say GIF.
We're gonna get along. No, GIFs can
GIF is
F right
peanut
off.
butter, and I kind of like it.
GIF is peanut butter, and see, this is how I know this is gonna work. We're on the same page with GIF.
Love you, Kyle.
Thanks, man. Love you too, buddy. GIF is peanut butter. I don't open Christmas gifts.
No.
I'm sure there's no one's gonna comment because no one listens. But if they were gonna comment, it would be other references to when G's are pronounced like J's, and I'll be like you can suck
like
it.
gym.
Because like gym?
Like
oh,
gym-
like
gym
yeah,
class.
you going to the gym. So
I used to call it Gime, though.
right,
I'd be
like a normal
just
person.
joking around. I'd be like, I got Gime.
You sound like you have to go to the doctor.
It's like gout and Lyme disease it's put
Oh
together.
man, that'd be the worst.
Gime.
Let's give you the new tick-borne illness. It's Gime.
Shit. Yeah.
I hate ticks.
Oh, don't even
I
get
don't
me
know if that'll
started.
Come up. I don't know if that'll freaking.
I usually
your buddy Mike
Yeah.
posted a gross tick last year when he was laying down on I think on his yard
Yeah.
somewhere.
He had it on his nipple or titty or something, didn't he?
Yeah, it was somewhere like that.
He was getting freaky.
Like I don't know if get ticks feeling him up.
I usually stay away from ticks, but
I don't think anyone goes towards them.
anytime I went out shooting with Carl, he would take me out for like bucks and stuff like that, and for deer, and the shit we walked through was like we went from one location and to a second location as we were driving. There were two. One was on my leg and one was on my hand. So yeah, like anytime we go out with Carl, the old CN Tower crutch, Carl.
I can't talk shit about Carl.
Carl's-
Every one of his shots, I'm like, my God.
Carl's great.
Carl's a good guy.
But he he hasn't been shooting as much, but when he does, he puts in a lot of effort. Ticks and all, he doesn't care. He'll pull them off. He'll be like, yeah, I pulled off like 30 ticks off my dog today on our walk. I'm like, Jesus Christ. No,
I used to be
thank
worse
you.
with him, but then my new dog has long hair and he's a fucking magnet for
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
So I've had to learn to battle him a little
yeah.
bit.
No thanks.
He actually got Lyme from one in Cambridge.
Wow. Yeah, it's no good.
He's kind of fine now.
Yeah.
But
If it's
Yeah,
if
weird.
it's treated and it's caught early enough, then yeah, typically it's fine.
yeah, but it was like we didn't even. I think literally it might have been from my in-laws' backyard because they back onto kind of like a naturey area. And there's always have deer running through their property, eating their
Yeah.
house plants and stuff. Foxes run through.
Well-
They have a Cooper's hawk that just occasionally perches in their backyard.
That's awesome. That's a very residential predator, a bird of prey.
Cooper's hawks.
Yeah.
I love on every Facebook group. What hawk is this?
Yeah.
And it's just a coop
Yeah.
sitting on their fence,
Yeah.
staring
I think
at their
this is a
repeater.
falcon.
Occasionally it is a merlin.
Sometimes it is.
To be fair.
Getting back to the ticks quickly, we were talking about ticks a couple weeks ago in the group, and Mike said, "Where can I move that doesn't have ticks?" So I did a quick little Google search, and there's like 280 tick species, and they're on every single continent, including Antarctica. You can't
I've
you
looked
can't
this
escape
up.
them. I'm not saying they all carry disease, but you can't escape them. There's one called the Lone Star tick, and I'm sure everyone knows this. That can give you a rare disease where you're, I think it's red meat that you're allergic to, which is wild. If I couldn't have steak,
They found that in Ontario, I think.
yeah, I think you're probably right. A Lone Star
It's-
tick.
Yep. The deer ticks are the lime ones.
Yeah.
They're the red tick. They're red with like a black front part. The Lone Stars have that other one. The most common ones, luckily, are the dog ticks.
Yeah,
or the wood
yeah,
ticks,
wood tick, yeah.
which don't do.
No.
they're still gross and terrible.
My wife and I have only had one on each other each, and they both were deer.
Yeah,
They were both a black-legged, right? Black-legged tick was the other name for it.
blacklegs are the bad ones.
Yeah, the deer ticks or whatever.
deer ticks. Dog ticks are the
Yeah,
okay.
and we
ones.
had
Dog
we
or
had the
wood.
bad one, the deer, and I had an adult female, which is like 70% or something.
Yeah.
50% of them have Lyme. I didn't have it, but I got it off pretty quick.
Well, like we found multiple on our dog, and we have a little tick remover thing.
Yeah.
I pulled one of them out once from her our in-laws' house, and I was like, that looks like one of the bad ones. And then I confirmed that it was. Then we went to get him. We told the vet, and they're like, in 6 weeks, come in. And he tested positive. So basically, you go on some antibiotics. If you are testing positive for it, you can be put on antibiotics, which will kill the virus. But what the virus does is it goes dormant and kind of lives in tissue for a while, and then will like wake up later, and then that's why you get flare-ups. And that one wouldn't have been killed by the first round of medication. So that's why it's hard to get rid of, because it can not show for so long.
I don't like that.
And then it'll jump in later. Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't like that.
In dogs, it appears to be more just like they get kind of lethargic and just like get kind of normal sick, and you just get them antibiotics. But in people, it can have so much more complications and stuff.
No, thank you.
That's why I like
winter.
Where are you finding all this? Right, winter's great.
Bring on the celebrity owls. So pumped. There's no ticks.
Bring on winter ducks and bring on
doosps. Yeah. Is that how you say it?
Freezing my feet off.
We have this thing where it's like, the 4-lettered bird codes. We have this thing that's doosps, D-U-S-P, duck species. Do you say it like doosps when I type it to you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I thought it was just me, but I wasn't sure.
No.
All the doosps.
All the doosps.
Yeah.
I'll say doosps in a casual conversation with people
who
don't even know what it is.
I go for the doosps, and then I usually stay for the saw-whet or some sort of owl if I can.
Yeah, doosps in the morning.
Yeah.
And the saw-whets in the bright afternoon.
Yeah, but they're under canopies and stuff.
Skies. Yeah.
So that's probably the best way to do it.
I still think about and laugh when me and Craig were carrying on, and you're like, shut the fuck up. There's a saw-whet right
I literally
here.
walk off trail to the first, what was it? A white spruce, and it was a young...
Like a 6 foot high.
Yeah, a young one. And I turn to my left, and there's a little saw-whet sitting basically out in the open, tight against the trunk, but it was in the open area, sitting on a deer mouse.
Just so mad that you found him.
Oh, he was just like bright, wide-eyed, like holy shit. And then he was having a conversation. I'm like, guys, what? There's an owl right here. Where?
We're like, no way. My favorite, and it's like the pictures that we got were the exact ones you don't want. Like eyes wide, staring straight at you. Like,
well, I remember you two saying, you know what, this one's a little too alert. Let's move on. We already seen 2 at this point, and that's exactly what we did. So again, this is a location where they have a lot of room to move, and they're usually found in very, very different trees in a general area, but not always in the same tree. Very rarely in the same area, like same tree.
Yeah.
But it's a type of owl that's going. Their defense is to stay still, to camouflage in, stay still, and that's where you have to govern yourself and take a couple shots or whatever and just move on. And how many times have you been out there when we were looking and we found something and someone asked, has anyone asked if we'd seen anything when you were there?
Yeah.
And what's my answer usually? No, it's a little slow, but it's a great day to be out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not to be a prick. That's not to be a gatekeeper. No. That's just knowing that they're there. You're in the right area. If you want to find one, you can definitely do it. But I'm not going to give you the coordinates to something. So if you're one of those people that are going to stand around and look at it for 2 hours and tell people, hey, come over here. I don't want that on my hands.
Is it wrong that I'll give them a quick kind of judgment? I'll look at their camera and like what they're wearing.
Well, I think I do that too.
How they're,
yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'm not going to tell them.
But I'm still not telling them. Like,
no,
I'm still not. It's funny. It's a little bit of a gatekeeping situation because if a buddy of mine showed up and I'm standing there, I'm like, yeah, fuck, I'll go take you to it. I'll show you. But I've surrounded myself with guys that I can trust as well.
Oh, for sure.
So it's
and at the same time, we're walking on trails.
Yeah.
So
well-used trails.
If this person walked through the same trail and missed it, that's kind of on them.
I agree.
No offense.
And
maybe offense.
And I'm not saying that their inexperience is also going to add bad behavior. But if because there's people that out there that have just as much experience or more experience than me that will still exhibit bad behavior or bad ethics. So you can't even say, oh well, he has a 600 prime and a Z9, so I can trust him. Oh, he only has a Nikon P1000, I can't trust him.
It's not even that. It's not even their specific gear they have. It's just like how they're holding it almost.
That's interesting.
Like, I don't know.
I've never looked that deep.
I don't know.
Because I know my answer, and it's going to be, no, nothing. We didn't see anything today.
Yeah.
We saw fresh poop everywhere. That's always what I say. Like, I'm going to keep your optimistic. We saw some fresh poop.
You leave a breadcrumb.
Yeah, there's a breadcrumb. Exactly.
It's shit-covered breadcrumb.
I've been learning this craft, being a little bit introduced into the community through people. I've been let down more times of people that I thought were ethically capturing things and realized that they're just low-hanging fruit. They're just grabbing low-hanging fruit all the time, and kind of they're subjected to those locations with crowds, and maybe they're not adding to it. Maybe they, I don't know. I'm not going, so I can't tell you what happens there. But it just, when you hear things, that's good enough for me. Usually where there's smoke, there's fire. There's got to be a little bit of truth to it.
Yeah, and that's like I mentioned earlier, that's why I came to the conclusion that, like, even if I wanted to go to one of these locations and try to do it ethically, like, it's not a great idea, in my opinion.
It's not a great idea, but it's a great spot to learn. It's a great spot to learn location and learn the habitat and take a look around to see where it is, how high off the ground it is. You can learn so much from it. So it's so hard to push people away from experiences like that. But you also have to be aware of what people are teaching you without even knowing.
It's for sure a really thin tightrope to walk.
It is, and I want to say that everybody has been unethical at one time, including Kyle and I. Nobody's perfect from this.
What are you talking about? I'm perfect.
All right, well, we'll let the people vote.
To be a poll.
Yeah, but yeah, so, like, this wasn't a whole shit on specific, photographers or locations, or it's just
that comes later.
It's a little bit of a bone to pick for myself, for sure, where you see you see names pop up, same names pop up regularly. And you're just like,
I think there was,
and that guy knows that guy, and that guy's friends with this guy. Fuck me.
There was a big stink when a pretty popular YouTube photographer showed up at Downs View.
Mark.
We're doing it?
Mark Smith.
Mark Smith, yeah. And it was like, I do like some of his shots.
Well, he was taken. Like, he didn't know the spot. He was taken by someone in Quebec or an Ottawa photographer that knew about it, and told him where he could get some up close photos of short-eared owls and stuff like that. It's funny. The interesting thing is, I know somebody that reached out to him to tell him about what kind of goes on there, and he kind of took the same route as, well, I didn't really see it when I was there, and I felt like it was a nice vibe and a nice area, and so I'm gonna present my photos or clips or whatever I got out of it. Now, is that because he wanted content? He needed content. He wasn't gonna throw it away. There is that kind of content creation aspect of it where you don't want to spoil a good time. But in the same trip, there was also something about him going out to Ottawa, and there was some, like, baiting of snowy owls for some photos too. So all hearsay. This is, certainly not, but when you get to a certain level, I would say, of content creation, the content has to continue. So I think what you're willing to do for content might be skewed a little bit as you grow.
So what you're saying is, in a year from now, we'll revisit this and see where we are.
We are going to be jumping fences and smashing trees to wake up owls when we get famous off this.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Have we said that the only reason I'm doing this is to buy a 600 F4?
I thought it was a 400-2.8. That's what I told the guys.
Whichever one happens
That's
first.
what I told the guys in the chat.
Yep, 400 2.8. Hit me up, Canon. I'll gladly shield that for the rest of my
We're
life.
gonna have a GoFundMe link in the description of it.
What happened? No, nothing. We
knows?
just want to buy a really expensive lens.
We may have lost a few people on the whole ethical thing, but this was not a.
Have we gained anyone on anything yet, though?
If I'm involved, you're probably not going to gain too much. You might want to replace me eventually.
I tried to with the whole hurricane thing. That didn't work.
That's true. Yeah, that is
So
true.
I'll have to try harder next time.
But anyway, this was more of just a conversation about, the ethics behind it, and even when you're new, you should also be looking at what's going on in these areas, which you like or you don't like, along with the behavior of the owls and what you can take away from it. Just be aware of both. Because a lot of people will tell you something is, it's fine, when you may not be aware that certain behaviors.
You ever listen to any of the Joe Rogan podcasts with
Every single one.
Oh, his jujitsu friend with the gravelly voice. What's his name?
Oh, shoot, the little guy. He's a little guy, right?
Theories.
Yeah,
Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, Johnny Bravo.
Eddie Bravo.
Johnny Bravo was
Bravo.
the guy from the Cartoon Network or something.
Yeah.
Eddie Bravo.
Eddie Bravo always says, "Just look into it."
Yeah. Just look into it, guys. By the
just look into it.
The famous quote by Eddie Bravo. Just look into it.
Just look into it. Well, I think we're gonna call her a day. We've been talking for quite a while now.
All right.
We really appreciate all the listens that you guys have been giving us so far. I don't really have any expectations, but I would say we're probably above what I thought would be happening at this point.
Agreed, yeah. And the feedback's still been really good.
Yeah. Feedback. One thing we screwed up last time is our email address was wrong.
Yeah, I looked at it right after, and it was. You're right.
The way we said it was wrong.
I think it's angrybirdpodshow@gmail.com.
Yes. angrybirdpodshow@gmail.com if you want to message us. We would love that. I don't know. Let us know if you wanted us to read it out on here. We're glad.
Yeah, if you have
glad
questions.
to.
Maybe we might do a question. Who knows if we get enough people.
I would love to get to the point where we have a few questions we could ask or answer at the end
What was
of the show.
the other thing you wanted to do?
If you have
an
a
image.
picture that you want us to kind of rate, we may not be the nicest about it, but we want to be honest. We're both guys who aren't going to sugarcoat what we think of it.
Yeah, we don't even to each
Maybe
other,
not.
to be honest.
No, absolutely not.
No.
We may not be outwardly mean about it, but we're definitely not going to be overly nice if we don't think it deserves it.
And we're
So-
certainly not qualified. So just keep that in mind.
Absolutely not. Not even a little bit.
No.
If you want an opinion from two jamokes who don't know what we're doing, absolutely.
Just to get your photo talked about on a small, tiny startup podcast, then we are your guys.
Yeah, we'll give you no traction for any social media, but we'll definitely give you
I think it would be fun.
words.
And we'll even do
Yeah.
a couple of our own photos. You,
I think we should.
Kyle does one of mine, I do one of his, and we just have this,
Maybe we
this
do-
bash fest.
Yeah, just to see, I guess we have to show what people are in for.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about it with me is be humble. I like taking the ego out of things and just seeing things for what it is, and don't have too much. It's nice to like your photos, but don't be too attached to something. I take my photo and I post a photo. I'm on to the next one. I'm already thinking about the next thing. I'm not really attached. So, I do a lot of archiving, like we said. So if someone doesn't like a photo, move on. Try again.
For sure.
Prove them wrong. Send them in, and
I'm all
we'll
about
just hammer it.
We'll just fucking crush it.
All right.
All right. So we are the Angry Bird Pod Show. Once again, I'm Kyle. You can find me at kyle.boehm.photography at Instagram. This is Matt. You can find him at _Matt Parrish on Instagram. And I guess we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Till next time.
Right.
Start the music.
Start the music that doesn't exist yet.
We have it.
Or does.
It's right here.
We don't know
it's
yet.
It's right here.
Oh, there it is. All right. Love you, Matt.
Love you, buddy. Till next time.
Feathers beating wings, all up in the lens. Kyle and Matt snapping, capturing all them trends. Peeping through the scope, freeze frame the fly. Angry Bird Pod Show, aiming for the sky. Oh, they click in the snap, see the birds on the map. Angry Bird Pod Flow, flipping through the recap. Kyle and Matt, dropping wings on blast. Tune in next week, this one never in the past. Eagles, hawks, and kestrels, flying so divine. People live broadcast, podcast goldmine, twisting in the air, birds of every kind. Critics gonna chirp, but they ain't ever dying. Zooming in on sparrows, robins in the mist. Matt's got the shutter, Kyle's got the twist. Feathered friends in flight, equipped with the strut. Angry Bird Pod Show, capturing the cut. Oh, they click in the snap, see the birds on the map. Angry Bird Pod Show, flipping through the recap. Kyle and Matt, dropping wings on blast. Tune in next week, this one never in the past. On the twilight, watch the colors flash. Birds of every shade in a photogenic dash. No need for fame, just the birds flying free. Angry Bird Pod Show, bringing all the glee. Oh, they click and they snap, see the birds on the map. Angry Bird Pod Show, flipping through the recap. Kyle and Matt, dropping wings on blast. Tune in next week, this but never in the past. Eagles, hawks, and kestrels flying so divine. Keep the live broadcast, podcast goldmine, twisting in the air, birds of black, so fine. Brain Matt, dropping wings on blast. Tuning in next week, this but never in the past. In the past. Tuning in next week, this but never in the past. In the past. Zooming in on sparrows, robins in the mist. Matt's got the shutter, Kyle's got the twist. Feathered friends in flight, equipped with the strut. Angry Bird Pod Show, capturing the cut. From dawn to twilight, watch the colors flash. Birds of every shade in a photogenic dash. No need for fame, just the birds flying free. Angry Bird Pod Show, bringing all the glee. Oh, they click and they snap, see the birds on the map. Angry Bird Pod Show, flipping through the recap. Kyle and Matt, dropping wings on blast. Tune in next week, this but never in the past. From the past. Not shortcut. Not shortcut. Angry Bird Pod Show, bringing all the glee. Bringing all the glee.